Now,
You sound like Barry.
stop it. What about now? Is that better?
Can.
Toda.
You sound like Peebo Bryce.
I ain't even start yet. Y'all starting already. All right. Toda. Oh yeah, he gonna get his shout out. He's gonna get his shout out. I did. All right, we'll start with the warning. We'll go out of order this week. Take the time to explain that this lesson and the lessons thereafter are not based on any one individual, whether in this assembly locally or abroad. The lessons were not developed by myself alone. Yes, the Father has something, if not all, to do with them. If these lessons hit certain points that you feel or believe have something to do with you, all praise to the Father. Take that knowledge and apply the solution to your life. Do not take anything personal and miss the message that's being given to help solidify your salvation. Watch and listen to gain the understanding you need while on this journey. Rules. Caleb, read the rules for me, please. Since you don't get to mute anybody this week, I'll let you read the rules. Kanan is in charge of all muting this week.
Rules that will be used for all lessons. Please keep your mic muted except when asking or answering a question. Use the mic to speak. There's a feature on Zoom in the meeting room where you can raise your hand if you have a question or statement. Also here in the assembly, if you have a question or statement, raise your hand and speak into the mic for everyone to hear. All questions, answers, and statements must be on the topic. You can only answer one time per question or statement. You have 60 seconds to answer or to ask or answer a question. If you pass your 60-second window, your mic will be muted for you. For those, your mic will be muted for you. For those that are in the room, you also have 60 seconds to ask or answer a question. There are mics that will be passed around that are to be used to ask or answer those questions. All statements in the room must be limited to 20 seconds. The microphones will be used to share with others that may not hear you online. These rules are due to time and the recordings of the lessons. These are live teachings. We must give the moire enough time to complete the lesson. This will be mixed with discussion to help one another. Please do not abuse the time.
All right. Toda, I don't think you're gonna stick to your 20-second window, but it's okay. All right, so today's lesson is titled The Light, but it's not so much a definition of the light, but how to appropriately be considerate in sharing that light with others. All right, Matthew 5:13-16. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use, but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. Isaiah 61, and in 3-5. Arise, shine, for your light is come, and the esteem of Yahuwah has risen upon you. The nations shall come to your light, and sovereigns to the brightness of your rising. Lift up your eyes all around and see. All of them have gathered. They have come to you. Your sons come from afar, and your daughters are supported on the side. Then you shall see and be bright, and your heart shall throb and swell, for the wealth of the sea is turned to you. The riches of the nations come to you. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love the darkness rather than the light, for their works were wicked. Everyone who is practicing all evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. But the one doing the truth comes to the light, so that his works are clearly seen, that they have been wrought in Elohim. Matthew 4:13-19. Leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capharnaum, which is by the sea, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali, to fulfill what was spoken by Yeshayahu the prophet, saying, Land of Zebulun and land of Naphtali, the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who sat in darkness saw a great light. And upon those who sat in the land and shadow of death, light arose to them. From that time, Yahushua began to proclaim and to say, Repent, for the reign of the heavens has drawn near. And Yahushua, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brothers, Shimon called Kepha, and Andre his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, Follow me, and I shall make you fishers of men. These are all things that we've read 1,000 times before, right? Okay. Many of us. John 1, 1 through 8. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from Elohim whose name was Yochanan. This one came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all might believe through him. He was not that light, but that he might bear witness of that light. Who is that light? Mashiach Yahushua, correct? No questions about that, right? Okay, good. So before we move on, we all agree on a few simple things, right? These simple things. Light's a good thing. Ken? Those in darkness need the light. Ken? We want to be fishers of men. Right? We all agree. Okay. So, y'all know me. I can't just leave y'all there all happy and stuff. So why do we keep our light hidden from those who need it the most? Huh? What? It's rhetorical unless somebody wants to answer it. Go ahead, Aki. Go ahead. What do you have to say?
All right. I think sometimes because the fear is, what are they going to receive it? Mm-hmm. You know, when they give the light, is it going to be received by that person? So a lot of times it's just really the unknown as to, how it's being received.
Correct. You got something? Okay. How many of us, when we came into this path, we just wanted to flee from everything that was wicked? Lots of hands have gone up, right?
My hand went up, yes.
So in and of itself, that's a dope thing, right? But there's a danger that we can take it too far. And then we withdraw, and we don't want to have nothing to do with the world. But that's not where we want to be, all right? So that's what kind of the tone of today's message, taking it too far that you don't allow others to see their light, to see that light, okay? Say that in the microphone. And yours next.
I'm so heavily bound, I'm no earthly good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't want to be a monk.
You don't want to be a monk, right?
Go up in the mountains.
And separate yourself. Now, how many of us have done that at one point? And how many of us know people that have done it? A couple hands have gone in the room, right? Nobody did that online. Only the 5 people that raised their hand in the room. All right, so again, I'm going to take the time that this lesson are not after or based on any one individual. So I don't want anybody to get offended at any point by any certain example that's used. Fair enough? All right. Yeah, unless you be the example, we'll see what you say then. No, just play. Everyone's like, use me. Let me be the example. No worries. It's all good. All right. No names, I promise. All right, Ephesians 5:5-10. For this you know, that no one who whores, nor unclean, nor one greedy of gain, who is an idolater, has any inheritance in the reign of Mashiach and Elohim. Let no one deceive you with empty words. For because of these, the wrath of Elohim comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not become partakers with them. For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Master. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Ruach is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is well-pleasing to the Master. Does anybody disagree with verse 7? When you guys read verse 7, what comes to mind? When you read verse 7, what does that mean to you? Do not be partakers with them. Namana, go ahead.
Shalom, Mori. What it means to me, verse 7, do not be partakers with them, is going to their congregations with them, eating, dining with them, like kind of like um, things of that nature.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would say do not look at things are not of Elohim, like X-rated movies or monster movies or things that are witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. And it's a whole lot of, it's a long list of things that we shouldn't do or partake in this world.
I didn't think you can go that far with it, but Toda? Go ahead, Akif.
All right, so I'm just gonna simplify it really fast. So the first part is talking about empty words. You don't be hanging around someone that's just giving out things that's not gonna benefit you. They're very empty. And then sons of disobedience is a whole lesson for the sons of disobedience. But let's just say these sons of disobedience is not just those that are in the world, but we have some within ourselves or among us that are disobedient too. All right, so don't become partakers with them neither. All right, then talking about we were once in darkness. So if we were once in darkness, but now we have the light which is in the Mashiach, then the light of the Mashiach should be shining in us. And those that are around us doesn't want to be in that light. The sons of disobedience don't want to be in that light, so they're going to go away anyway. Lastly, it says, walk as the children of light, for the fruit of the Spirit is all goodness and righteousness. So if you're full of goodness, righteousness, and truth, then what you're going to do, the last part is proving what is well-pleasing to the Mashiach and to the Master.
Good. All right. I'm focusing on that word partake. It's a partaker or a co-participant, also translated as a partner, right? You don't want to be doing the same thing they're doing. You want to be joined with them, right? Oh, you ain't say that when I asked you the question? No. Anyway, all right. So again, it's not that you don't want to. So can you have dinner with coworkers? Yes. Right. You can be around them, right? But you're not partaking in them. You're not partnering with them. You're not to be the same as them, right? Now, is this something you want to make a weekly habit of doing? No, because now it's more of a chance to minister. Now you are partnering with them. Now you are partaking. But a one-off, not a problem, right? But how many times have we been invited? Let's say someone did invite you to church. You can go. You can go. Why? Why can you go? Because you also want to invite them to hear what you believe. You can't, some people not going to hear you if you don't hear them first, right? So again, but simply you attending once to them in exchange for them listening to you does not make you a partaker. You have not partnered with them at that point. That's the distinction I want you to make, all right? Now, that doesn't mean every invitation you get you have to accept. It needs to be on those grounds. I will come to yours if you listen to what I have to say about my beliefs. Vic, what you got?
Sleek, you just touched on it, that if we were to go that route, that it is for a purpose more so than to fellowship, correct?
Absolutely.
Not going there for the chicken dinner.
Yeah, you're not going there for the chicken dinner like Mora Yasharu said. Now, Mana, what do you have?
Toda Mori, I'm glad that you cleared that up because I was offered to go to a church, but I kindly declined. But if I'm asked to go again, I will go. Thank you so much for clearing that up with me because I was like, yeah, no, Thank you.
All right, just remember that you're going for a purpose, though, that you're not going just because you don't want to offend them. You know, I got offered, so let me be polite. Just make
Okay, can I give out bookmarkers?
Absolutely.
Hallelujah. Torah. Well, hey, I gotta do it.
All right. So at times, we can take it to the extreme and go completely off grid while trying to maintain our light. But the advice in this writing is not to partner with those doing wrong. It doesn't tell us to go run and hide into a hole somewhere, right? You're to walk as children of light. You're to walk among them, to be an example of the light. Talk to them, even perhaps give them a bookmarker, right? But you can't prove anything if they get to see what you're doing. All right, so we're going to look at that word proving now. All right, it means to test, to approve, to allow, to discern, or examine. So we are the light that they're to examine, right? They see us and they're able to discern the way we live is the right way. But they have to be able to see that example. If you just become a recluse, how are you going to prove anything? And who are you proving it to if you're only among us? We already know. You ain't got nothing to prove to me. You ain't nothing to prove to each other, right? Go ahead, Aki.
You know, one of the things that we got to be careful is when we come to witness, just as much as they're talking, they're thinking what they have is the absolute truth as well. So if you're not coming for a jousting match, then you're coming to share the light. But understand that, they're trying to share the light as well, whatever light that they see as light. So we have to be conscientious of how we respond back to them, that we don't overdo it to make it sound like we are, we know more than you. Right. Just listen to what I got to do. Right. We're not a Jehovah Witness.
Dang, you had to say that last part in the mic? What? All right, we not on the street corner. We're not fussing at people and all that stuff, right? All right, 1 John 2, 5-17. Do not love the world, nor that which is in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Because all that is in the world, such as the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust of it. But the one doing the desire of Elohim remains forever. Psalms 18:27-28. For you save the afflicted people, but bring down those whose eyes are haughty. For you yourself light my lamp. Yahuwah my Elohim makes my darkness light. So we want to make sure that in all things that we're doing the desire of Elohim, because Elohim will bring down the eyes of those who are haughty. Everybody agree? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Consider this. But remember too, that we can also have haughty eyes. It's not just them versus us. All right? Are we truly following his instructions by retreating, or are we doing what we want to do? Because it's easier, because it avoids those uncomfortable conversations, because it might lead us to confess things that we're not proud of. Now, there's certain things that he's going to tell us to avoid. There's certain times that you may get an invite, and he may tell you, no, not this time. You're not going to do that, right? But how many times you want to be careful not to just ignore it because, oh, it's the right thing to do. I wouldn't be caught dead walking into a church. Somebody might see me. But if he sent you there for a purpose, there's somebody there that's waiting to see the light, then you can't let your pride get in the way of the assignment that he has for you. Hey, if somebody catches you and you get put on Telegram, it is what it is. Go ahead, okay. I'll come through.
I'll let the birthday go.
Yes, can you give a few examples of haughty? Because sometimes I think people can misunderstand people's disposition. So can you give me some examples, please?
I would say those that are puffed up, that kind of think, like you said, when you go into a conversation thinking you already know it all, thinking that you're above reproach, thinking that I'm on this pedestal and, or I put myself in it. I'm Maury Mikael. Can't nobody see me at a church. Like, I'm never going to do that, right? At the end of the day, I just got to be me and do what he tells me to do. Like, we're not too good to be in a certain place or talk to certain people. All right? That's what I mean by the haughtiness. Did that answer your question? Okay, go ahead, Akeem. All right. Luke 5:27-32. After this, he went out and saw a tax collector named Levi sitting at the tax office and said to him, "Follow me." And he, having left all, rose up and followed him. And Levi made a great feast for him in his house. Somebody mentioned being invited to dinner. And there were a great number of tax collectors and others who sat down with them. And the Pharisees and their scribes grumbled against his talk when saying, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" Yeah, you couldn't get lower than a tax collector back then. And Yahushua answered, saying to them, Those who are well do not need a physician, but those who are sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. Right? You're not having Pesach in unclean places, talking about you ministering. We're not doing that. No. Somebody go. All right. So again, we are not called to be a light to each other. We're to be a light to those that are in darkness. But how can we be a light to those that we never interact with? They have to be able to see the light, right? Going off grid is not the answer. Now, let me preface that by saying there are certain situations and certain individuals who will be called to do that. But that's where the verse about the haughtiness is, right? If it's your calling, do it. But don't just assume that you've been called to do that. You always, whatever direction you take, you want to make sure that you're being led by the Most High to do it. That you're just not taking it upon yourself to behave in any certain way. All right? All right, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the esteem of Yahuwah has risen upon you. The nations shall come to your light, and the sovereigns to the brightness of your rising. Lift up your eyes all around and see, all of them have gathered, they have come to you. Your sons come afar, and your daughters are supported on the side. Then you shall see and be bright. Your heart shall throb and swell, for the wealth of the sea is turned to you. The riches of the nations come to you. You understand that Yeshayahu was a prophet, right? So he's speaking prophetically, right? But remember that you want to see yourself in the word as you're reading it. So the Father operates his plan through each of us individually, right? So there's darkness all around you, but consider that the darkness makes your light even more needed. It's not a reason to run and hide. Again, it says they're going to come to you, right? How can they come to you if you're nowhere to be found? It's not going to work. All right, again. Oh my goodness. Stop it. This lesson is not based on any individual, either in the assembly or abroad. All right? I just want to make sure. I don't want nobody fussing at me. You know? What about the children? Matthew 19:13-14. Then the young children were brought to him to lay hands on them and pray, and the taught ones rebuked them. Yahushua said, allow the young children, do not stop them from coming to me, for such is the reign of the heavens. All right. So how many of us have no problem going out into the world? We have no problem going out into the world. When we're invited to church, we shall go, because that's where we need to witness. Things of that nature, right? Who's that? Now, Mona, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I need to put my hand down. You just asked a question, but you were asking in general if
Got you.
we don't have a problem with going out in the world. Toda.
All right, some of us are not quite so willing when it comes to our children. We want to do everything that we can to protect our children from evil influences. All right, so can we agree that light can be associated with purity? Light can also be associated with innocence? Well, we agree that children are also associated with purity and innocence. And that means they have what in them? It means they also will have a light. All right, so again, we're worried that our children will be influenced or corrupted by the things of the world. Schools are dangerous. Their classmates are so worldly. I don't even know which public restroom is safe anymore. I don't trust my kids at other people's house. But I don't trust them to come to my house either. You can't do that. You can't do that. Can't do that. You got to pick one or the other. Your kids can't be, just alone on the porch, hopping around in a circle by themselves. It's not gonna work.
I might have a Sukkot in the backyard. Sukkot's fine in the backyard.
All right. You think to yourself, I don't want my baby exposed to those things or those people. Is that a bad thought? No, right? That in and of itself is an awesome thought. None of us want our children truly to be exposed to things that they could be harmful to them, right? But what if I said 1,000 times that I've had the opportunity to be up here? It ain't about us. It ain't about what we're afraid of our children to be exposed to. Go ahead, Aki.
So I think for some parents, if they haven't taught their children yet, sometimes the light can make them stumble, right? So there are some things that our children, we want them to have the light, but we want them to have the light with wisdom, with some type of understanding. And sometimes, like you said, the children come a certain way, but no, in reverse, I'll just say, if someone's children coming over to the house, if they don't receive certain light or whatever, it could be something about, and they bring that back to the house that they came from. So
Now, let's be mindful, though. That doesn't mean that you're just letting anybody over at your house unsupervised. And you're just like, oh, go do what you want to do. Like, we're not doing that. We're not playing them games, right? All right. I'll give an example of myself growing up, right? You're out in the street playing. Kids might come to my house. My mom at that time wasn't super religious or anything like that. But then I would go to one of my best friend's house, and they were at church all the time. They were talking about Jesus at the time more than I ever heard in my own house, right? So I heard about righteousness and good and bad from them more than I ever heard at my own house. So they had a chance to expose me to the light, right? Which I wouldn't have gotten at my house at that particular time. All right, so again, you don't want them exposed, but y'all might want those people exposed to the light. You got to look at both sides of it. Your precious baby that you don't want exposed might be the only light that these people get to see in their life. Your precious baby might be the only light they see that gives them hope. It could be some poor lost teenager out there that's surrounded by darkness. How will they find their way if no one provides them a light? Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying about the light, because we raised our granddaughter, and we had certain rules that she couldn't sleep over nobody's house. She can't go over there and just be there. They may come to our house, and so that we could see what's going on, and we had plenty of time to talk with some of them. So that was a perk, because we just didn't want her into anything and everything. It's enough was going on in school. She didn't need her around her.
Okay.
are you sharing, like, for an example, teenagers versus just when you say children, they're thinking 7, 8, 9, or so.
It says a lost teenager at the end.
Yeah. So, but just so they're clear,
Right. Right.
even when it comes to teenagers, they need to have a way to understand that light, so that they can be the light, that they expect to be.
Yeah, this isn't just send your kids out willy-nilly. Just like you don't just go to church willy-nilly, you don't send your kids out willy-nilly. You send them out to be a light. You send them out knowing that they're different from others, that they can't participate when everybody else does. Think about yourself as a teenager, and you got a group of, I'll pick a random number, 6 of y'all. And 4 of them want to do the wrong thing. And there's this one kid teetering which way to go. And your kid's the other righteous person there. And they're, oh man, I like Micah, he's cool. I'm gonna side with him. But if Micah ain't there, whose side the kid gonna go on? With the other 4 that ain't doing right. right? So again, be mindful, right? That you want to be conscious of decisions that you're making, conscious of what you're putting into your children, right? All of us, the first day, we ain't ready to be the light. We don't just be like, you know what? I heard about this thing called the Torah. I learned his name yesterday. Let me go to church and be a light. You shouldn't do that. You should not do that, right?
Tell the pastor, oh, that's right. You lied to me. That's a horrible idea.
All right. As an adult, you can't have a spark. Talking about, let me shine my light. If your kid only has a spark, you can't send them out all willy-nilly to be the light, right? But remember that just as you have a calling on your life and you have a mission in your life and you have the light, your children will too. And when it's time to let them go shine that light, you got to be able to let them go and go do that. You can't be so caught up with fear of what they might see and let that fear, what they might see, overpower what somebody might see in them. All right? All right. So we're not called to be a light to each other, but a light to those in darkness. How can we be a light to those that we never interact with? So last week we talked about storing relationships, right? And I mentioned that we shouldn't make it difficult for our loved ones to restore the relationship. So when somebody's trying to come back and get right standing, we don't want this laundry list of things they got to accomplish before we're willing to accept them back, right? But if we withdraw that light in us, we could be making it difficult for others to return to the light. In a sense, we could become a stumbling block. Somebody's groping in the darkness and all they want is just a little bit of light. And I was supposed to be there at that time to be that light. And I said, no. There's evil people over there. I can't go that way. But the sick need a physician. All right? I wouldn't go to the, but again, all right, there was an example. Ask your question in the microphone, please.
I said, can I go to the company Christmas party? Be the light?
So, but let's stay there for a minute. We're coming up on that time of year, right? We're coming up on, what's the one that they got at the end of this month? Thanksgiving, right? How many of somebody out there is going to get an invite to go to Thanksgiving dinner? Right? Now, for some of us, that day will be the first time we hear from these people all year. For others of us, I've been talking to cousin Tyrone for 6 months about this. But Tyrone lives 3 states away. He's only coming in town for this. Oh, it's Thanksgiving, bro. You on your own. Or am I going to go meet with Tyrone and have this conversation face to face in depth that I would have not had at any other time of the year? But again, you have to go consciously knowing what you're there to achieve. If you go there and you just go hug on Big Mama and eat the turkey and you and Tyrone never have the conversation, you failed the mission. You failed the mission, right? You have to know why you're interacting and what you are setting to accomplish. All right? So let me be 1,000% clear about that. You have to go in there with a plan, and there has to be a reason for why you're going. But once you're there and you decided and you know why, absolutely, you may have to go. You may have to go. That's your only chance to talk with somebody. You go. Now, if you haven't talked to these people about the word ever, does it make sense to just show up on that day and for the first time start talking about the word? That's probably not what you want to do, right? For that, in that case, you probably don't need to be at Thanksgiving dinner to say, hey, guess what?
Thus says Yahuwah.
Thus says Yahuwah. That's not how that will work, right? Let's use some common sense and practicality in what we're trying to accomplish. But if this is your one chance to get a hold of someone, you can't let the fact that it fell on this time of year be like, oh, I would do it, but, that's that Thanksgiving on Thursday. Meet them on Wednesday. Meet them on Friday. But you can't just say, well, it's Thanksgiving time, so I can't talk to them about the word. That's not how that would work.
And you meant, or don't overdo it, too. Like years ago, my neighbor asked me to go, to Thanksgiving, so I did, and she made sure there's no pork and stuff. And
I can only imagine.
She asked me to pray, so I said I sure will. So I started praying, and I tell her about what happened to Indians and how this day was, and I started talking about the pagan stuff, and then in Yahushua HaMashiach's name, I mean. everybody looked at me like, what in the world was he talking about? And I told him, when we eat, come and talk to me. It just never happened.
They never came and talked to you?
They wouldn't know everybody. Nah, the head of the house, he wanted to pray.
I'll pray this time.
Yes, I pray that.
Thank you for the food.
Oh my goodness. You're not giving any examples next week. You're banned. All right. Let's put a bow on this and wrap this up. Think for a second, right? About relationships that you severed now that you live the life of a believer. How many times have we shunned people from our past who have reached out? Did we have a conversation with them, or did we just let that call go to voicemail? Yes, if they're asking you to do things that you shouldn't do, then respectfully decline, right? But just as they offer you a chance to do wrong, you can offer them a chance to get right. So you can't automatically just shun people, right? Well, that's from, back when I used to do XYZ. I don't know why this person's calling. We'll find out. Don't assume the reason why they're calling, right? Or if you let it go to voicemail, check the voice. I know. I'm sorry. I never check my voicemail. But check the voicemail when you see the call. Like, I wonder what they were calling, right? But you can't just leave them out there because you don't know why they're calling. They could be calling in a desperate time, reaching out for you. And this could be the time they're trying to get right. And you could be the difference between them going right or going to the left. But you can't say, well, they're from my past. Got to leave them alone. Now, Mama?
Shalom, Murray. I have a friend that lives in Tacoma, Washington, and I've known her for like a long time, and I've shared the word with her and Torah and things of that nature. However, her husband is a preacher in the church that they go to. So I find it very difficult to even conversate with her about the word, because she says, well, my husband says this, and he's not gonna change or things of that nature. And I said, well, no, I just wanted to share the word with you, give you some information about it. But it's difficult because her husband's a pastor, and sometimes it's difficult.
All right, Toda, I see where you're going with that. Now, the example that we gave about attending church and things like that, that's for people who are willing to hear. If the person isn't hearing what you're saying, that doesn't say keep going and debating and jousting with them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right? Some people will see your light and utterly reject it. That's perfectly fine. They have to deal with the consequences of that. Maybe you'll send them another light down the line. But if they're not receiving what you're saying, that doesn't mean that you have to make effort after effort after effort after effort just to go back and forth with them, right? But you can't just automatically reject them the very first time they reach out to you, which some of us have done in the past, right? All right. You got to tell the story now. No, play. If you come to my class chewing gum, you better have enough for everybody. Oh no, you got to share the story.
All right. So I went to Food Lion last night, to pick up something, and then someone walked up to me and was like, "Would you like to come to my church?" The reason they're out there is because they're doing what they call church building, right? Trying to get membership. And I'm like, I'm not interested, because I don't know this guy, but I know the church in the neighborhood, so I was like, yeah, it happens. But if someone that I know and we talk on a regular basis and they ask me to come, I would be more willing to come because they actually know my life, right? They know how I get down. And then I say, you seem to want to be serious about the Most High too, so I'll go talk to the pastor or whatever I need to do. But yeah, last night I was invited to, I yield.
But again, you were able to prove the Most High based on your walk. He knows your walk. He knows your lifestyle. But if he never sees you because you never come out the house, you can't prove nothing to him, right? He don't know nothing about you. All right, so there's some interesting times coming. Oh, I'm sorry, my fault. I didn't see you.
Have two of them. I actually went into a church yesterday. It was an accident. Okay.
No, what do you mean by
It was an
accident?
accident. It was an
I
accident.
slipped and fell in the church?
What
Wait,
happened?
wait.
What happened? No, yes, I did.
What happened was
I met someone. I was doing a face-to-face meeting, and I met someone, and she told me to come to her job, and she happened to be like a manager of the church. Did not know because it looked like another building. And she's like, oh, we need to talk in privacy. This lady took me in the sanctuary. I was like, oh my goodness, that's when I realized it was a church. I was like, oh my goodness. I'm looking at the cross and everything. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, so.
Let me get a cup of that holy water. I'm thirsty.
So I'm at work. So, well, this wasn't yesterday. It was the day before yesterday. It was Thursday. So now, another story. I have a female pastor that I work with. And I happened to be walking past her cubicle one day, so I started talking to her, and I heard it very clearly in my head, and I knew it was the Father told me to be quiet and listen, not to talk, because I was about to just, go back and forth with her. And she started speaking, and she was so on point with everything. She was so close to being a believer in the walk, and I yelled.
All right, so I'm gonna ask a question and give you 60 seconds to answer the question. So did it end up being a productive conversation? Yes. In what way?
In what way? I actually learned some things from her. She actually said some very, I actually wrote it down inside of my notes, where she said I asked her some questions, just thoughts in my head, and she was actually giving me the answers, and she gave me scripture to go along with it. So I actually learned some things from her. Again, she's gone to like seminary and all these different things, but she was just so close. She was so close.
All right, so I would assume that you're going to continue to having these conversations until you can kind of flesh out some of the things that she has going on. But again, you can't just say, well, she's a pastor. Women can't be pastors, and I don't like pastors, and let me just never talk to this woman again. Can't do that, right? All right. So there are some interesting times that are coming upon us. But understand that in tough times, people tend to seek direction and repentance. When stuff hits the fan, people gonna come looking for religion, right? In the dark times, they will seek the light. So let's be available to be a light. You're gonna come across people that had no interest in the word years ago. They're gonna start taking their belief a lot more seriously now. Don't be surprised who suddenly finds religion. Don't be surprised by who suddenly reaches out with questions when they were before never interested in Yah. Some may have a genuine interest, some may not, but don't prejudge and automatically decide that you aren't going to be a light. At some point, someone possibly considered you to be beyond saving at one point as well. Right? So we don't want to make sure that we just prejudge and go, this person is XYZ, so I'm not going to share my light with them.
I was gonna say, after Thanksgiving is over, I think majority of our challenges is during a time of Christmas or New Year's, because like if you don't, they're like happy holidays and all this other stuff, and if you don't celebrate it, or you're a Jehovah's Witness, or they always ask you certain things. So I try to reword my words to them in hopes that maybe I can have. I say, I don't do holidays, but I definitely believe in the scriptures or the Bible, and so it's just really, hopefully, like I tell everybody every year, we need to start trying to find words that are catchy words to show them that they can still communicate with us, even though we reject those holidays that they have.
I was at my last job 8.5 years, and every year they was asking me to do Secret Santa. Like I told y'all last year, I wasn't doing nobody's Secret Santa. But it's about, like I said, it's about that time. It's about that time, right? Somebody get a bookmarker this year. Well, I'm at a new gig now, so I might participate this year. Just hand them like a stack of bookmarkers. Here, there you go. All right. Did you have a hand up? No, too late. I saw. No, I don't know what to say. Just start talking and then see what happens. It's all over your face. You have something you want to share. You dimming your light, Ak. I didn't waste my time up here. So, appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right. So again, this is where wisdom comes in, right? You want to make sure that you do the work ahead of time and that you're strongly grounded and rooted in your belief so that you can be a light to the unrighteous without being a partner to the unrighteous, right? You want to be a light, but not a partner. But you can't do that if you're not fully grounded in where you are. Because it don't take much for the adversary to get you. So you want to make sure when you step back and that familiar person calls you, you want to make sure that it's not an area that you're weak in. All right?
10 toes up, 10 toes down.
All right. Matthew 5:13-16. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. So we doing this for ourselves? No, right? So when we rob Yahuwah, when we don't let our light shine. And none of us would want to do that, right? All right. So just as you came to realize whose house you are in, there are still others who have yet to realize. They are those in the house, they just haven't realized it yet. But they still get to be exposed to the light. Unless we take our light and go hide it under a basket somewhere. Right?
It's bright under here. I'm driving.
All right. Any questions, thoughts, or comments about today's topic? I was waiting. What took you so long, huh?
Oh, nothing took me long. But I wanted to just share this because I remember when I came into the walk, the person that I met acted like they were a gatekeeper to the Father's name, to the Mashiach's name. And if I wasn't persistent in wanting to know what this was, because the Father had stirred my heart up, and he sent me to someone else. But this is just for us. Don't think because we have the truth that we are the gatekeepers. We don't know who is ready, when they're ready, and we just got to deliver when the Father tells us. And do it without prejudice, without preconception of ideas about the person. Just give it to them and let the Father do the rest. One plant, one water, who gives the increase?
Hallelujah. Toda. Any questions, thoughts, or comments about today's topic? Anything else? Go ahead, Aki.
I was trying to wait till the end to ask this question, but you answered it early on. And my question was, if someone invites you to their church, but you're not really equipped to answer all the questions that are going to come at you, would it be wise to just decline?
I would say, hey, I can't make it that this week. Are there any particular questions that you had? The ones you can comfortably answer them. The ones that you can't see guidance on and get an answer. But I also would caution you that if they give you specific questions, even if you don't know them, don't keep them hanging. Search out an answer from someone else that can get you a correct answer and make sure you get back to them.
The follow-up question I have for you, though, is that how do you know you may not have the answer if they haven't asked a question? You know what I mean? So meaning that, let's just say you go, at that time, the Ruach can give you what he wants you to say. But sometimes we can get nervous because we're saying, I don't feel like I'm equipped to do this. So that comes the part where you need to pray about it. And if you feel like he wants you to go, then you can go, and you'd be surprised. You might be the light that he wanted you to be at that time.
Right, that's that part about being prepared, right? Be able to hear from him, be able to be used. We got one in the room.
You know, sometimes you may think you don't know anything, an answer to a question, but I have talked to people and I have gave them the answer and wonder where did it came from. It was the right answer. It had scriptures with it and everything. But you still going to wonder where that answer came from because it wasn't you that was speaking. It was the Ruach. And I realized that sometimes the Ruach will intervene and use you and speak the words of the Father to that person. And that will help that person out a whole lot. I have did that a lot of times, and even today, these people still see me and hug me and thank me for the answer that helped them in their life. I yield.
Hallelujah. Now, Amanda, go ahead.
Shalom, Murray. You won't know until you walk in obedience. You walk by faith and not by sight. The Father will put you, if you're obedient and you go, let's say you just go wherever the Father leads you, He's going to give you the wisdom and the guidance to do the task at hand. So you won't have to worry about what you're going to say during that time because He's going to be with you. If they ask a certain question, guess what? He's going to give you the ability to answer that question. So you will never know until you try. You walk by faith, not by sight. Lean not on your own understanding, but the understanding that comes out of the mouth of Yahuwah. So don't let fear be a factor. Just walk by faith, size of a mustard seed. At you.
Hallelujah. You definitely can't let fear, and he's not going to lead you somewhere and then leave you hanging. Yahushan Dawood, what you got?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. It happened to today at work with me. I was working with this girl, and I had been giving out bookmarkers. So I said, like, I'm not gonna say nothing at work today. I'm just gonna work. And all of a sudden, Father like put it in my heart. I gotta say something to this girl, and then I did. And I was trying my back turn, and we were moving this thing, and I turned back around, and she was bawling. And I was like, whoa, man! It was kind of freaked me out because like I didn't know that was going to happen. And then I said to her, I said, you know, I know you've been searching for a long time, but today, like the truth is on your doorstep today. The good news is on your doorstep today. You don't have to search anymore. And she just started bawling. And then everyone I worked with was looking like, what did this guy say to make her cry? And she was like, no, this is a good cry. But I didn't realize that, like, you know, that like I wasn't going to say nothing. And this girl was bawling. And I didn't realize that she needed that word right there. And it was amazing. And I didn't expect that. She didn't expect it. It was amazing. So there you go.
Hallelujah. Go ahead, Ima.
I'd just like to say, when I went to my second job, I still worked for the state, but I went to another agency. And a lot of them over there knew me, but they didn't know my change. So I had an opportunity where they would come to my desk and I will offer them a seat, and I would never say nothing. I said, I just want you to talk to me. And at the end, they understood what I was saying because a lot of them was grateful that I let them have the knowledge of what I was walking in. And I never pushed it. I always just, whenever you need someone to talk, I always had a seat at my desk. And they would come and relay everything to me. And okay, I'm giving it. And I never just gave them just minimal because I know they still wasn't sure.
Yehuka said? Oh, Sleek, Yehuka said, hold your mule, relax.
All right, this is from Justina on Zoom. She said that I live at home with my mom and she's a Christian. She has asked me to bring my kids to church sometimes and I told her no. But how can I be a light at home to my very young children? They hear my mom call on Jesus and they hear me say Yahuwah. Am I confusing them? Yes.
Okay. How old are the children? I really couldn't say yes or no without having information. I wouldn't let that be a reason not to call on the correct name, though.
My kids are really young. They're 1, 3, and 4.
Oh, sorry, 1, 3, and 4. Yeah, you can still. You just have to drill down and explain to your children what you believe in, and why you're using the name that you're using. At 1, 3, and 4, they're going to be confused about a whole bunch of things. They're interpreting things as babes. To them, it may not matter. They may not even recognize that they're the same things. They may think they're two separate things, because again, they're understanding as a 1, 3, and a 4-year-old. And as they get older, they'll gain more wisdom, and you'll be able to have more in-depth conversations with them. You said?
Shalom, shalom. I got a two-part question. One is, I guess, in terms of going out, speaking with others, being a light to that, how long should like one, I guess, not really be in isolation, but be what's the word I want to use?
I don't know.
Basically, how long, like, until someone is able to like go out and to speak and to talk? And I guess that comes with like the maturity aspect. What are some certain things that they should know prior to going out and, let's say, doing like a street ministry? Because you have a lot of newborn Christians that the first thing they do is they just want to run out and tell everybody else. Just same thing, with certain quote unquote Hebrew Israelites, that they have this zeal without knowledge, and sometimes they may do a little bit more harm than good concerning it. So that was my question.
Yeah. There's really no time frame on it. It's really how much you understand, and what's your foundation. What are the basic tenets that you believe in, and also being humble in the moment to understand that you're not going to know everything. You don't know everything. And please, I would caution anyone not to give a response for the sake of giving a response. If you don't know the correct answer, then don't speak on it. You should have a basic understanding of your beliefs before you go in to start having these conversations with people. But there's no time frame on it. It's more about how long it takes you to have your understanding. But it's like the same thing we said before, that if you've been led to go there, then pray that the Ruach is in the midst of your conversation and he'll get you through it. But anytime that we try to just run off on our own and go places and talk and interact with people and show how knowledgeable we are, we're going to fall on our face. That's not what he asked us to do, right? He asked us to go be a light and let his light shine, not our light. So we want to be careful with what we're doing. What was the second part of the question, or the second question? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Caleb, last shot. You got something? All right. All right. With that, my favorite slide. I yield. Sharad Vic, do you have the prayer?
Yes, I was just waiting for the signal. So if we're ready, we can go ahead and close out. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam. Todah Rabbah Aliyah. We are grateful to you yet again for what has been brought forth as we take a moment to reflect and better understand our purpose and role to be a light to others where needed for the edification of your kingdom. We thank you, Abba, for the understanding that, again, we are called to be mature, to walk in this way, and that through our testimony and through our labors, we never know who may be hearing or seeing what we are doing that may draw them to you, Abba. And that, again, as believers, we are called to be obedient. to walk in this way, and that on many of occasions where we may not have known what to say, your Ruach has given us the word to say. And as our master, Yahushua, has reminded us, we ought to be wise as serpents, soft as doves, Abba. And so, as again, we continue on this journey, we lean on your understanding. We continue to pray for strength. We pray for our Mishpachah who are laboring where they may be, whether just starting in this walk or mature in this walk. Abba, help us to be attentive to our Mishpachah that may be in need of encouragement or of prayer and or just a listening ear, as we all are trying to travail and make it and hold fast until your return. And so, Abba, we thank you today. We also give praise to you for the testimonies that have been shared. We're thankful for those who have joined us today, and hopeful that if someone has come today that may have heard your word for the first time and want to seek who you are, we sing hallelujah and grateful for them. And so, Abba, we thank you. We are grateful for this fellowship that will take place, for the meal that will be shared and enjoyed. We give thanks. And until we gather and assemble again, we pray about a cow over each and everyone's households. Pray no harm or danger come against them, seen or unseen. May your peace be abundant before them and your favor. And we yield the supplication with belief in your power and your might. Through Hamashiach Yahushua, Alel to Yahuwah. Amen.